Hi, welcome back to the channel. A few weeks ago, CBC posted an article titled, "Do you know where your retirement money is?" It's a topic I've touched on before, but I thought the article was really interesting. It alluded to the fact that it is quite possible that over 200,000 Ontario residents alone have up to $3.6 billion in unclaimed accounts at different financial institutions. Let's get into it. So those numbers were not exaggerated. 200,000 people in Ontario alone are leaving $3.6 billion estimated on the table by just simply not knowing where that money is. It works out to an average of about $18,000 per person, which in isolation isn't quite as headline grabbing as 3.6 billion. So I get why they did that. But they gave an example of a woman, and it's a very common mistake I've seen many times. Let's get into what the example actually is. This lady worked a job in the 1970s. It doesn't say exactly what year, so for the example going forward, I'm going to assume it was 1975 that she left the job. I just went right in the middle. She left that job in 1975. She forgot all about the money that she had in there until 5 years ago in 2020. So let's go through the actual steps to this calculation to figure out what her returns actually were. Back in 1975, she had a value of $8,000 in that account. In 2020, she had a value of $100,000 in that account. That's a 45-year spread. She put zero extra contributions in there. So the timeline is 45 years. The interest rate is unknown. $8,000 was the original value, $100,000 was the future value, and $0 was the payment. If you punch all of that into a financial calculator, you'll find that this lady got a 5.77% compounding return over that 45-year time period. Now, that is nothing to sneeze at. She certainly could have done worse than 5.77%. She probably could have done better as well. But for as many people out there that have decent returns like this over that time period, after forgetting about their money, I have met people who have brought accounts like that to me who were invested in cash and had almost no return. So it's definitely something you want to make sure you are paying attention to. Some of the other findings from this article were that a, quote, significant number of the accounts that were what I've often referred to as orphaned accounts, accounts that are forgotten when I used to work at a major institution that had lots of these, but a significant number of these were for people who were over the age of 100. The article goes further to say that sometimes the organization goes to the extent of actually buying annuities for these. Now, this may sound like, oh, it's a noble thing that the institution is doing to protect that person's money if they ever come back. That's not how I read it. I read it as the company is doing a form of churning. Annuities generate commissions, and if you don't have instructions from a client and you're doing something that generates a commission, you're taking advantage of a system where theoretically you can't get caught. I don't think this is a good thing at all. Now, what can you do about this for yourself? Whether you're in Ontario or not, I am very confident this trend goes across the entire country. But if you are late in your career or retired, think back. Think back to every job you've had through your career. Did they have group RSPs or a defined contribution pension, anything? And if they did, for every job that you've worked, do you know where that money is? If not, there is no harm in making a few phone calls. Worst case scenario, you waste 2 to 3 hours of your life. Best case scenario, you're like the lady in the example and you found yourself $100,000. That's worth 2 to 3 hours if there is money that you are forgetting about. Alternatively, if you're in your early career or the middle of your career, keep your paperwork. Make sure you know where your contributions are going. If your employee has a matching program, if your employee does have a matching program and you're not taking advantage of it yet, that's free money. Start taking advantage of that. That's a big win. But most importantly, as you move from job to job, which is becoming more and more common, make sure you are consolidating those little micro pensions into one big pension somewhere, whether it's with me, whether it's with a different financial advisor or a robo advisor. The mistake would be leaving it, because if you leave it where it is, you are raising the likelihood that you could forget about it. Consolidate your investments. All right, so if it's time for you to start looking at your financial plan or on how to consolidate these micro pensions into one place, there will be a link in the description down below that comes directly to me. Until next time, keep planning.